Welcome to the Bonacci Performance Podcast. I'm your host, Jake Bonacci. Today I have a very special guest, 6-time world champion in kickboxing, Mr. Ray Sefo. Good to see you, Ray.
You too, bro. Good to see you.
Wow. Saw you a couple months ago down in Florida.
Yep.
I hadn't seen you in a while. Looking great. Looking the same as always. In shape.
You look better.
I don't know. But we met originally in 2008.
Yep, that's correct.
And I remember exactly when I was sitting out front at Extreme Couture with Big Phil. And I had just moved here permanently after grad school.
Right.
And you came through the gym area and you were dressed in street clothes, so you stuck out anyways. And you're like, hey, what's up? And I recognized you. And you walked out the door and I remember looking to Big Phil. I'm like, what the hell is Ray Sefo doing here? Because, I mean, it was an MMA gym. You're a kickboxer. I knew who you were. I mean, I played you on the frickin' video game back in the day. And what brought you to Extreme Couture back then?
Actually, it was Jay, to be honest. Heron. So I ran into Jay somewhere, I think a month before I came to the gym. And he's like, brother, you got to come to the gym. We just, Randy just opened a new gym and you should come down. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And I think I was getting ready to go to Japan. When I got back, do you remember Big Yarn?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So Big Sexy.
Big Sexy.
Him and I were around the corner from where I live. We went into the sushi spot and he recognized a guy there, but that guy was also with Randy. And so he goes over and then they call me over. So I go and say hi, blah, blah, blah. And the next, I think it was the following Monday, we came down to the gym because Randy, was like, you should come to the gym, blah, blah, blah. I said, yeah, no, Jay already, told me about it. So we were going to come down for sure. So Monday, Jan and I walked into the gym.
Yeah, he sticks out a little bit.
Yeah, he's
the giant.
The giant.
But where were you training prior to here?
I had trained from time to time. Obviously, I mean, most of our camps was in Japan or back in New Zealand. And occasionally I would train when I decided to stay here. I would train with One Kick and Dewey Cooper. So every now and then we would go and train with those guys. And then when we came here and realized that, man, it was a massive gym. Remember those 2 rings in here?
Mm-hmm.
So it worked out perfectly for us as well.
Yeah, so I was kind of thinking at the time, I remember first seeing you, I was like, man, he's in an MMA gym. Is this really a good thing or whatever? But you were bringing your own guys in too.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Doug.
Like Doug and my brother Ronnie and a couple other guys. But yeah, I mean, when you have a gym and it's complete, then it just is easier to adjust to whatever training we're doing.
So from then on, this has been home.
Yeah, it has
17 years ago.
Yep, 17 years ago.
Crazy. What was your strength and conditioning like prior to us working together?
Absolutely nothing. Meaning, I would do my own strength and conditioning, like lift and do sprint training and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But when I started working with you, you had certain specific things that
progressions.
That would help in terms of my progression in speed and power and whatnot, which I'd never done before.
Yeah.
I didn't know that there was such a thing, if you will.
Yeah.
Until I still started working with you.
Okay, so I guess I didn't have a very tough act to follow. Nice. Set me up for success there. So at that time when you came here, when I met you, we started working, I think, like within a week or two.
Yeah, exactly. But speaking of that, I mean, like, I think there was a time I went back to New Zealand for 2 or 3 weeks, and a buddy of mine had a friend that did strength and conditioning that I worked with for like that week, I think it was. But it didn't compare to what you were doing, but still.
You had some structure.
Yeah. By then I had structure because of working with you.
Yeah, so when we started working, I remember you lost a couple fights in a row at that point.
Right.
And you came here, that was kind of like a revival.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, It was like, we're switching up everything for this next one.
Exactly.
And I remember the next one because, like, for me, it was a big deal. I was like, man, I'm going to get a chance to help Ray get back on track. It mattered to me a lot. I was very motivated for that. And that's why I killed you the way I did. That's why I put it on you.
I know. It was... But it was great, though.
Constructed destruction.
No, it was awesome.
Yeah. But the conditioning sessions, I remember my focus with you was like, yeah, we did basic strength work.
Yep.
We did our basic pushing and pulling with the upper and lower body. We did plyometric work, all of that. But my focus with you was
Yep.
conditioning.
Exactly.
And it allowed me to, compared to like training an MMA fighter, you're a stand-up fighter, where you weren't going through the grappling, jiu-jitsu grind
Right.
that everyone else was, and you didn't have to prepare for that.
Right.
So my perspective was, all right, I've got more of the pie where I can throw in conditioning work.
Yep.
And this guy's going to be in shape when he fights next
Yep.
time.
Yep.
And you were.
I'm trying to remember.
You fought Hung Man Choi.
That's what it was. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you won that
Yeah.
fight,
Yeah.
obviously.
You won that fight. Yep.
I remember that fight too, because it was in Japan
Yeah.
for K1, and a group of us came to the gym here and watched that fight in the lobby.
Yep. Yep.
Because none of us had the channel. So we were here, I don't remember what time, it was in the middle of the night. And we drove down, watched the fight, went home, and but we won together the first 3 of your 4 K1
Yeah.
fights
Yeah.
back.
No. Exactly.
So we did some good
No,
work
we did
there.
great. What you did great.
You put the work in. But those sessions, I remember, I was like, man, if I can just help Ray get in shape, he's got the skills.
Yeah.
Like it's all going to be good after that. And you
Yeah,
went on a good run there.
Yeah. No, we did.
And I was on the plane last night when I was flying in. I was thinking about some of those earlier sessions with Doug. You and Doug were, if there was podcasts or any of that stuff back then, it would have. Come on.
It was great. But Doug is such a clown. Like he's such a kid. But that's why everybody loves him. You know, because you can never take him seriously because he's cracking jokes about everything and anything
in the worst moments.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'd be putting it on you guys, like a tough conditioning session. It'd be on a respirator. He'd be like, Jake, is that it? Is that all you got? You'd be like, Doug, shut up, Doug. You shut up, I'm gonna knock you out. And you guys going back and forth was just absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, no, that was great.
So yeah, we went on a good run there, 3 fights in a row.
Yep.
And then K1 kind of went defunct after that. And then it was like you went to make the transition to MMA. What was that like? You're in here with Randy Couture's gym, the wrestling culture and all of that.
Yeah.
You've never done that really.
Nah.
And then you just jumped right in the mix with the best of the best.
Yeah, so the crazy thing about that was once I knew that K1 was done, so my first MMA sparring was and I went with Jay. And Jay at the time was, he didn't have a fight coming out, so he was like he fights at 170. I think he was like 190, maybe 195. I was like 250 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to keep Jay, like, I think for the first 2 minutes at a distance. And when he shot, took me down and I couldn't get up. And it was then that I realized I need to wrestle. And so I wrestled, I dedicated 1 year to wrestling, and I wrestled with Brian Kick, who ran 3 days a week. There were days I didn't want to go, but I knew it was something that I really needed to do and needed to learn for myself. And that helped, that helped a lot.
But to be able to pick that up, though, at that point of your career was incredible. And I can't imagine what your body felt like.
Man, oh my God. There were days where it reminded me when I not first started, but in those first couple of years where you just peel yourself out of bed because you're so sore from, all the hard work. But man, it really helped a lot.
Yeah. And what a perfect gym to be at, to have to, kind of start from scratch.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was such a good gym that we had everything. We had kickboxing, we had boxing, we had MMA, we had wrestling, jiu-jitsu. So, I mean, it was a fighter's dream to kind of, to be part of the Extreme Couture.
Yeah, still is.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Because you've got sparring later, you're still doing it.
Right.
Yeah, we gotta get this in. We gotta get this in before Ray goes and spars. One of my regrets in my career was I never got to go to Japan with you. And you invited me 2 different times.
Yeah, we talked about that.
And I didn't do it. And the reason I didn't do it was because I had such a large roster of guys.
Right.
There was fights like every weekend.
Exactly.
And I never wanted to leave anybody during their camp.
Yeah.
I've felt like I'm here for that, right? But man, I regret, I kick myself to this day. Like, it wouldn't have mattered in hindsight, right? Like, I could have had that experience at a K1 event.
Yeah.
Because those things were like off the chain as far as like.
Yeah, I mean, every time, like, you know, if my son and I, Ramon and I, are driving down the street, and the music that I walk out in comes on, and it takes me right back into the Tokyo Dome, 80,000 people. It's such an amazing time and amazing feeling. But yeah, no, it's
I was going to ask you about that. It's on my little sheet here about the Tokyo Dome.
yeah.
Because you guys were filling that with 80,000 people. That is incredible. Like that's a massive event. I think the largest venue I've ever been in is like 30K, and that seemed incredible.
Right.
Over in
Yeah.
Sweden when Anthony Johnson fought.
Right.
But like, I can't imagine 80,000 people.
Honestly, I mean, my first time in the dome, I was they brought us out on the second level, so you're looking down. And when I looked up, and there was people, and I kept going and I kept going, and I'm standing there like they just introduced us, you know, one by one, and I literally was looking that far or that high, and there were still people. I was like, wow.
But like that's before the day, like where there were huge screens, like where
Right.
people could see like there is now, like these
Right,
big
right.
venues. You can, if you have a crappy seat, well, you know what, you're still there. You get the energy, and you can just kind of watch it on the screen.
Right. Yeah.
That didn't really exist then.
Nah.
So it was kind of like, to me, it's kind of like a throwback. Do you hear about like Jack Dempsey fighting Gene Tunney in Soldier Field and 100,000 people
Crazy,
being
right?
there? Nobody saw anything in the
Right. Yeah.
but they had to be at the fight.
Yeah, to be at the fight and the atmosphere and to kind of experience that whole thing, you know,
Yeah.
because they get to tell their grandkids.
Right.
Yeah, I was at that fight.
I was there. Yeah. I didn't get to go to one of your fights in Japan, but I had the pleasure of being in Japan with you.
Right.
We
Yep.
went with John Alessio when he fought in the Dream event
Yep.
in 09, I think that was.
It was. Yep.
And I'd been around like in the States and stuff with different guys like Randy, like obviously always got a lot of attention wherever he went. But man,
Right. Yeah.
those people, when they saw you in Japan, was like something I've never seen before.
Yeah.
Anywhere we went, one person, Sefo, and like, bang.
Yeah, and then everybody was. Do you remember we had to jump into a cab to get away?
Yeah, we went to that
and they were
restaurant.
sticking their phones inside the window to take photos. It was nice. The Japanese fans are just absolutely amazing. I mean, you know, you experience fans all over the world, but the Japanese people were just so loyal and, you know, so hospitable too, because they welcome you all the time, no matter where you go.
They're
you know?
kind and respectful.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I wish a little of that would rub off to the American culture, right? Because I remember that fight too. It was silent in the arena.
Yeah.
John was fighting.
Yeah, and then when something goes, the action goes, then
you could hear feet on the canvas. You could hear everything, and then they would.
Yep.
So respectful. I loved it. Definitely, I've never experienced anything like that since, though. And we were going to a restaurant that night.
Yep.
We stepped out of the cab, and you got mobbed, and we basically jumped back in the cab and found a different spot. Yeah, your cover got blown. But that is when I realized like the star power that you have over there.
Yeah.
And like how revered the fighters were and how respected they were by the culture, because those people had you on cable television, right? Over there. It wasn't pay-per-view, right?
No.
It was so you were on their TV all the time. Plus you did endorsement stuff, right? For Japanese companies.
Yeah. Did TV commercials, did a coffee commercial out there, TV shows all the time. But I mean, K1 was so big. When I went to Croatia for the first time, you know, you got people from Sweden, Switzerland. It didn't matter where we went in Europe. People were freaking running up and asking for photos and autographs. I was like, wow, this is, you know, it was then that I realized how big K1 was, you know?
And unfortunately, like the American population didn't, like my friends that are fight fans were fight fans of fights that happen in the United States.
Right.
Yep. They didn't watch the Pride fighting over in Japan. They didn't see K1, and man, they missed out because that was incredible fighting. The K1 Max and man, just
K1 Max was amazing too. That's
if you're a fight fan, like, and you didn't see that, I'm sorry.
I mean, you know, even though I was a fighter, man, I was still am a massive fan of combat sports, whether it's boxing, kickboxing, MMA. I watch almost every show that's on.
Yeah, me too. I love it.
Yeah.
All right. One of the highlights of my career was when you fought Krokop in Croatia.
Yep.
That experience, the whole experience of being being at a kickboxing event like
Yeah.
that was totally different.
Yep.
It's just got a different vibe to it, as does boxing. When you're in
Yep.
boxing, it's totally, they're all different. And again, the people there loved you. You're fighting their guy in his hometown
Right.
in Zagreb, but you got tons of respect. There was no negative anything. Like they really showed you a ton of love there as well.
Yeah, that's the thing about fight fans. I think it goes across the board where when guys show up and they're willing to put it all on the line, you know, the fans are gonna love you, you know. But also it helped that going there, they had seen you know, pretty much my career on Eurosport and whatnot, and so it was nice to experience that as well, you know.
And that was a pretty massive venue too. There was what, over 20,000 people there?
Yeah, I think it was like 24,000 people.
It's the loudest I ever that Johnson swinging against Gustafson, but when Krokop walked out after us, I remember plugging my ears.
Yeah.
That's how loud and like the energy, and Michael Buffer did the intros to that fight, and that was crazy.
Yeah.
So like growing up a huge boxing fan, then like Michael Buffer's introducing him, like, what am I doing here? Like, what is going on?
Yeah. Now I was asking the same question when it was the Grand Prix, I think 96, where it was the first time, you know, I'd seen Michael Buffer. Well, actually, no, I met him throughout the week on Fight Week, but to see him in the ring live and then he was introducing me, I was like, wow, this is actually pretty cool.
Yeah. But then like the day before at weigh-ins, because he did weigh-ins too.
Right.
And he was standing by himself, and I had an opportunity to talk to him, and I had to take it. It's like, I've seen this guy on TV my whole life. So I went up and I like introduced myself, and I asked him, I said, you know, I've watched you on television so many times throughout the last 15, 20 years. Like, if there's one event that sticks out in your mind that you've been at, which one is it and why? And he sat there, and it wasn't long, and he said 1994, and I knew where he was going with it right away.
Right.
He said when George Foreman fought Michael Moore for the heavyweight title.
Yeah, wow.
20 years later, you know, he lost his title to Ali in 74, and come back in 94 and get a title shot again. And I said, why that fight? And he said, because George lost every round going into the 10th.
Until he knocked him out.
But he said he got up off the stool after each round like he could still win, and then he did. And I was like, wow.
Yeah,
but like getting to hear that from a guy like that.
Right.
And then, but back to weigh-ins too, the kickboxing culture, which I wanted to ask you about. You and Krokop were acting like you were like, and you're friends.
Yeah.
But you're like hanging out. Yeah. Like behind the scenes at weigh-ins, like joking around, hitting each other, like, and you guys are gonna fight tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, you don't see this much in MMA. MMA is like, no, we're fighting tomorrow, I'm not even looking at you.
Yeah. No, that is something that I love about K1. Now, I assume it's the same in Glory today. But most, like every K1 fight that I had been part of, and that was for like 13 years, everybody's respectful towards everybody. But we also knew when that bell rang, we were going to come out and hurt each other and win at all costs, you know? And so, but once that fight is over, there's that mutual respect for each other, which is something that, you know, a lot of guys in MMA can learn from, because these people are not your enemies, so to speak. They're part of the sport that you're involved in. And we will all get to a point where we won't be able to compete anymore. And so it wasn't like every guy I fought, there was never a hate in my heart or towards anybody. It was always about the competition and that, yeah, sure, it's, you know, we're hurting each other, but that's part of the game. That's the reason why we train the way we train, so that you don't get badly hurt, if you will. But there was never an ill feeling towards anybody on my side anyway.
And if there was, that would have been a heck of a thing to carry, because you guys fought each other. Everybody fought everybody.
Yeah.
And multiple times.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can't be carrying that stuff around.
No. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you just drive yourself crazy.
Who was somebody that you were like very close with that you fought?
Today,
Even at that time, were you friends with anybody?
Oh yeah, Jean-Claude Olivier was a good friend. Him and I were the new kids on the block in K1, and so for the next 2 years, we always hung out and when we were asked to fight each other, we both had asked for different opponents, but it was a title fight, so they said no, and so who in oh so when the thing happened with Marab and Aljo about them not fighting because they're good friends, I truly understand that, and I'm so happy for them that they didn't do that, because Jean-Claude and I were so close, and then after we fought each other, we never talked again until 10 years later, and I had missed him because he's a good guy, and like I said, we were good friends, and so that fight didn't need to happen.
Yeah.
But I think part of that was one, it was a title fight, and two, I think K1 wanted to control, that there was no friendship, so to speak.
Yeah.
But it's hard not to make friends because, like, even now that K1 are done, like I consider all these guys that I competed against friends,
Sure.
Because, like I said in one other interview, a lot of people, like even with the Mark Hunt fight, Mark and I knew each other, but we didn't know each other that well. But after we fought, I felt like we both walked away and took a piece of each other from that,
Sure,
because we stood there and banged it out.
That was something that was going to come up a little bit later in this conversation. I had to bring up the Mark Hunt.
Right. But going back to the friendship part, you what do you call it? Like for me, every guy that I've competed against, I had nothing but love and respect for them after the fight, because again, I know how much it takes to like really get your ass out of bed and train. I mean, you've seen it. We work together, and so not only strength and conditioning, kickboxing training, sparring, and all the things that that allows you to get prepared for that one night. And so I had nothing but love and respect for all the guys that I competed against.
Yeah, I think it's really cool too as a fan, like the nostalgia of seeing guys like from your era, like showing each other love on social media, and seeing like the old boxers hanging out together, guys that went to war, and like now they're cool. Like that's how it should be. Right?
Yeah, like I talked to Sam Greco, a friend of mine from Australia, who was one of the elite guys in K1 as well. Ernesto Hus, Mike Bernardo, Jerome LeBanner, Mark Hunt. And so, I talked to these guys.
Jerome LeBanner's jaw, you shouldn't talk to him. But that's cool, though. From a fan's perspective, it's really cool to see that stuff. Growing up, what inspires you to want to compete in combat sport? Like, where did that come from?
I don't know, to be honest. I mean, obviously there was no television when my dad competed, and so I only had heard stories from my mom and my cousins, and my uncles, but I never saw him compete. So when he started teaching me, there was never a thought in my head to compete. And then when I got into, because I remember I was 7 when Dad hired a Bruce Lee movie and a Jackie Chan movie. And I was like, Dad, I want to do that. And so by the time I was 12, I was able to, work as a milk boy and be able to pay for my tuition. But there was never a thought in my head to compete. And a lot of people don't know it, but I was such a shy kid growing up. And so I just never really thought about it until this guy, challenged me to a fight. I was 18 at the time, and I was training, already training with Liga, with Lolo, who's been my coach ever since. And my head was saying, when this guy challenged me to a fight, my head was saying, no, you don't want to do this. But he was like, all right, mother effer, let's go. Yeah. It's time to go. And I said yes, and that's how it started.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are we talking street fight here, or are we talking about...
No. Street fighting was something that just happened. Okay. It didn't. There was never
No hesitation.
There was no hesitation whatsoever.
Okay.
It would be like, if somebody was staring at me, I'll be like, excuse me, you okay? And then you go, yeah, well, what's your problem? Crack. You know what I mean? So there was never.
So this is your first organized.
Right.
Got it.
Right.
Got it.
Yeah, no, I never shied away from. Matter of fact, I almost got kicked out of high school for fighting, but I never shied away from that. But competing in front of people was never a thought until this happened. And again, obviously, this guy then challenged me to a fight. I probably wouldn't have been on this path. Wow. I don't know. I don't think so. Anyway, but I don't know if this was going to be the path because I wanted to be a cop. Mm. That was, I wanted to be a cop. But yeah, so finding it was.
Well, at what point did you know, like, okay, I can actually make a career on this? Let's go.
So after I won my first amateur fight, won the second, won the third, then I challenged for the national amateur title, won that, turned pro, won my first 2 pro fights, and then Lolo was like, I think you're ready to fight for a title, for the national title. And the guy that had the national title was, I think he was like 15-2, his record. Oh, no. Yeah, something along that line. And so we challenged for that and won that title. And I think it was after I fought Rick Kulu in Australia. He was ranked number 4 in WKA, World Kickboxing Association. And I think he was ranked number 1 in Australasia in boxing. And we went there and beat him. And I think it was after that Lolo and I sat down and talked. And he was like, so what do you think? I said, yeah, I think this is the route we go, Yeah. And of course, I'd always someone that believed in God and always and I felt like right throughout my life, I've always felt like I've been directed somehow, Mm-hmm. And of course, like I said, I've always had faith in God, and so my life is kind of like, just if there was a door closed here, the next one was, wherever I turned, that was going to be a door open. Yeah. And of course, I had to be honest with myself. And if that's the door that's going to open, okay, we're going to give it 100%. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And, but yeah, that's, it was after, our national title, that, we had that talk and realized that this was going to be a route that we were going to pursue and see what happens.
Well, it worked. And you're still at it.
Yeah,
you got
still
sparring today. Love it. What was the night? What was the night? What was the pinnacle? If you go back and you can live that night every night of your career, what is it?
Wow, that's a good question. I think being part, outside of my kids, which is the most amazing achievement ever. But outside of them, I think it's just standing in the middle of the ring with the best of the best fighters in the world, and I was part of that. Mm-hmm. Like, in my head, I'm thinking, there's not many people that can say that they stood in the same ring with Peter Urge, Jerome Lebana, Ernesto Hoost, Mike Bernardo, Andy Hook, Francisco Filo. I mean, the list goes on, Mm-hmm. Crow Cop. So I think it's that, to be able to be part of something. So I'd always say, when Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, in that era, Sugar Ray Leonard, Tommy Hearns, Marvin Hagler, Roberto Duran, in that era, those guys, it was just hard to beat.
Right.
And so in the era of K1 in kickboxing, that era was, for me, it was like, man, this is really something special.
That was the golden era.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And so to be part of that, I think it still gives me goosebumps.
But is there one specific night at the fight when you competed that sticks out more than the other?
The first time I'd ever felt like a champion, like a world champion, funny enough, it wasn't the 6 world titles that I won. It was my amateur title, because that dude was so tough. I hit him with everything, and that dude just kept coming. And at the end of the fight, it was the first time I had ever experienced this kind of exhaustion. And I said to my brother, I said, Ronnie, grab me and just pretend you're hugging me. But he was holding me up because I was about to pass out. I was just so tired. We walked out of the ring after, we got the bout and everything, the interview. We walked out of the ring, they put me in the shower, turned the cold shower on, and I think I passed out for 10 minutes in the shower.
Wow.
And I had never, ever felt like that. And I hope I never, ever feel like that again.
It was physically, emotionally, you were done.
I was done.
Yeah, you left it all there.
Yeah, everything was there.
So that's the move.
Yeah, and that was the night, you know.
Cool.
And that was also the fight that prepared me for every other fight, prepared me for world title fights.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Who have you met along the way? You've been all over the world. You've been at all kinds of events. You fought everybody. Who was a person that you may have seen that gave you like the wow factor? Like, there's that guy. Like, wow.
Having dinner with Bruce Willis is pretty amazing.
That's
pretty up there.
Cool. Yeah.
But that only happened because Mickey Rourke is a good friend of mine, and we've been friends for over 20 years.
I had a night out with you guys.
Yeah, remember that? And so Sam Greco and I actually met Mickey in Japan at a club, and that's how we became friends. And when we talked, he lived in LA as well, so we exchanged numbers, and we've been friends ever since. I just sent him a text to see, check up on him, see how he is, like a week ago, and he's good. But yeah, Mike Tyson is another one. Yeah. Muhammad Ali. There's so many names that I've met that not Joe Frazier, Tommy Hearns. The one guy that I'm still looking forward to meeting at some point. Oh, even meeting Evander Holyfield.
Oh,
you know?
Yeah. You saw him fight, right?
Yeah.
You went to the fight when he fought both of them.
Right. The one guy that I'm looking forward to meeting one day is Sugar Ray Leonard.
Legend.
He's like, he's one of my favorite, middleweight fighters in that division. That he was just so intelligent in the ring, fast, flamboyant, exciting,
And what he did was so remarkable too. He was out for 2 years. Sugar Ray Leonard was out for 2 years. Comes back. Marvin Hagler was the champion at the time. Because remember, Leonard had the
Yeah.
And he comes out of 2-year retirement and beats Marvin Hagler. Yeah, it was disputable, whatever.
Yeah, it was a close fight.
But no tune-up, no nothing. And Marvin Hagler was Marvin Hagler.
Right.
It's the only last fight of his career. He quit.
Yeah.
But yeah, same for me. Like seeing like the old school boxing crew.
Yeah.
Was always like, remember Roberto Duran was here.
Right.
Hung out that night at Tuesday Night Fights.
Yep.
And he was hanging around the gym. I remember.
That's a funny.
Holyfield.
Yeah.
Same deal.
That's a funny story about Marvin Hagler. Back in '93, because I was living in Germany, and we drove from Munich to Milan. And so we go to this, the next night, we go to order a pizza, and Marvin Hagler's photo was up, was in this pizzeria place. And I was looking at it, and the owner's like, "Oh, do you know him?" I said, "No, I know of him, but one of the greats." He goes, "Yeah, he normally hangs out at the piano bar down the road." So we're in there, and that's where I met him. I was like, it was just unreal,
It's real. I met him as well at the WBC convention.
And I saw him again.
Glenn, Glenn Lenz.
Yep.
He snuck me into that thing somehow, and years ago. And I had no business being here. He gave me some fake credential, and I was in there. I met Hagler, and Tyson was there. All those Tommy Hearns was there. Don King was screaming at people, trying to get his fighters ranked better. It was crazy. But yeah, same with me. Like seeing those old greats, the old time greats was. That's always like a trip when you see that.
Yep.
Because they're like real people all of a sudden.
No, exactly. But I mean, that story, just to think, I never ever in my wildest dreams thought I would actually see Marvin Hagler in Italy.
It was cool to me too, because you introduced me to Mickey Rourke.
Yep.
that was really cool at the PFL. I got to meet him. I mean, obviously I grew up watching him and the Gotti trilogy and all that, but yeah, that was super cool. Well, Ray, I'm not going to take any more of your time, but I appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining me. It was a great conversation, but I'm gonna let you get to sparring now so you can stay fit.
Thanks, brother.
Always a pleasure.
Likewise.
Hope to see you soon.